The question that we received in this situation was, how do I code for a Foley catheter in a skilled facility? That is a great question, and the answer, unfortunately, is it kind of depends on who you're coding for. So I outlined two different scenarios. The first one says, if this is a professional service and it's being performed by a physician or some other non-physician practitioner who is not employed by the facility, right? They're totally separate. They're traditionally billing their services separately, and oftentimes they're billing the facility because the facility is reporting those services out as part of their cost report and getting paid that way. It all kind of depends on who's doing what and which carriers are involved. But typically, if you're providing professional services outside of that facility, you're not employed by that facility, you're reporting on a 1500, you're using your traditional CPT codes, right? And those for the Foley catheter are usually either in the urinary section, depending on how far they insert the catheter, and what type of catheter they're using. The other option is, okay, well, what if the service is actually performed by an employee of the facility, and this is something that we're doing as part of their care while they're in the facility? Well, then often those services are rolled up on the cost report for that hospital and covered in the, well, in this case, I'm thinking skilled nursing facility, not hospital. And it's going to be rolled up in their calculated payment for that patient, particularly if they're a Medicare patient, which most of our skilled facility patients are. Either way, the internet-only manuals that CMS has out there, they outline a lot of documentation requirements for these. Now, I could have made it real easy and copied all of them in here, but you'd have had to read pages and pages and pages upon documentation requirements. So I actually put in two different things. Alicia, can you click on that first link? Because this is where we identify in the state operation manual. You should be able just to click on it and launch it. There you go. Thank you. This is where we outline in the state operations manual. It's actually an additional addendum that came out, this Transmittal 8, where they're further specifying what they actually said in the Code of Federal Regulations, where they talked about the Foley caths and what meets medical necessity for a Foley cath. Can you scroll? I need you to scroll several pages.
Do you know which page it is?
Up, where the red started.
Where it started. Very good. Right here?
So they go in here and they start talking about, in the Federal Register, they start out by saying that if a patient's got a cath of any kind, there has to be a medical necessity for that. For example, if they have incontinence of their bladder and we're doing this Foley cath for those bladder issues, there has to be the reasonable thought, basically, that that catheter is either going to stabilize or improve their condition, which hopefully, we hope that's why we're giving them a cath, and not just for convenience, so that we don't have to take the patient to the bathroom more often. That's sort of what they're outlining here in this particular document. And they're saying, here's the extent of bladder function that must be there to require this Foley cath. So that's what this first document does. The second document actually outlines how you can bill for it and what are covered conditions, what are not covered conditions, and how it gets reported on the cost report or on the CMS 1500. So I would recommend, if this is something that you bill for a lot of and you're working in those skilled facilities, review these and make sure that you understand here are the conditions that qualify and here are the things that are not. Because your carrier may or may not have an LCD that matches this policy. Because this policy is already in the internet-only manual, sometimes CMS doesn't go that additional step by clearly outlining it in a coverage determination as well.
Do you want me to open up the other link, or was that good?
It would be a little redundant, so we don't need to open the second one.
Okay.
But the answer is, if you're trying to determine how to code for a Foley catheter, you've got to know, who are you reporting for? Are you reporting for the physician or are you reporting for the facility? And the second question you need to know is that physician employed by the facility? Because if the physician's employed by the facility, oftentimes it rolls up on their cost report and actually gets reported by the facility.
Do you need more medical certification training? Go to www.cco.us. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for updates.